So this one is very similar to the last one, problem number 5. Only difference here is instead of having a arithmetic sequence, we have a geometric sequence, which means that they're multiplying by the same thing each time. So what we're trying to figure out is that they're saying 2 times something gives you a number, whatever that number is, times something gives you another, and then whatever that number is times something gives you 432. So again, we could do a guess and check thing. I mean, we could try and say, well, what about 2, I don't know, I'm just going to make up some random number. What if I said 2 times 5, and then I did that again, and then I did it one more time, and I got 250. Oh, well, I'm looking for 432. So it must mean that the number that I'm looking at must be that it's a bigger number. And so I could keep doing this kind of guess and check thing. What if I said 2, so let me clear that. What if I said 2 times 6, and then times 6, and then times 6? Oh, 432. So that must be what I'm looking for. So that would be 12. And then 12 times 6 gives me 72. And then times 400, or times another 6, right? So this would be times 4, and then times 4. But again, that was kind of using a guess and check way of doing it. So what if I wanted to know, if I didn't want to do the guess and checks, maybe the numbers were bigger, or I got frustrated at it because I couldn't figure out what it is. So what if I just wanted to go straight to it? All right, well, let's go straight to it. What did you start with? You started with a 2. And then you multiplied it, pretend that you don't know what this number is. So you multiplied it by some number, let's call that x. And then you multiplied it by some number again, right, the same number. And then you multiplied it by the same number again. And then what did you get? You got 432. So 2 times some number times some number times some number gives you 432. Well, I could simplify this. X times x would just be x cubed. And if I want to solve this equation for x, I'm going to divide by 2. So I get 216. We can put that in a calculator and double check. 432 divided by 2, which gives us 216. And then what this says, it says what number cubed gives you 216. And again, what we're trying to figure out is that we're trying to get this number right here, which is what are they multiplying by each time. Well, how would I get rid of that? In algebra, we always do the opposite to get rid of things. So the opposite of multiplication is division. In this case, the opposite of cubing something, right? So if you think about what's the opposite of cubing something? Well, if you have something to the 3rd power, the reciprocal of that, or the opposite of that, is raising it to the 1/3 power. Like if I did this to the 1/3. Because what ends up happening, let me write that a little differently. So what ends up happening here, if I did that to the 1/3, what ends up happening is that these two things kind of end up canceling each other out, and you're left with just x. Well, but what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So this would be 216 to the 3rd power. Now, we're not going to do that in our heads. We're going to use a calculator. So we're going to do 216, raise the roof, right, for your exponent, and then we're going to do 1 divided by 3, and then that gives us 6, which is what, for some reason, I have no idea. You've probably been yelling at me for 5 minutes now, like, hey, you screwed up, man. Well, okay, so we did screw up. I have no idea why I wrote times 4. Because that should be times 6. Times 6, times 6, times 6. So that's what that number represents. Sorry about that. So yeah, so that represents what you're multiplying by each time. So again, we did kind of a guess and check thing, or what we did here is that we thought of a more exact way of figuring it out. Right? Create a context. So it's kind of the same thing. Just, I don't know, make up a story. So, you had an Instagram picture. I don't know, so I'm going to say, so you had 2 I don't know, we could do maybe the YouTube video thing, or maybe an email. So you shared, I don't know, let's go with email. So you share an email or share a video, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Share an email with 2 people, and then they share it with 6 people. And then those 6 people share it with 6 more. So we'll say those 6 share it with 6 more people, and so on. Right. So they share it with 6 more people, and then so on. All right, so that's number 6. So go ahead and stop here and try number 6 on the right.